All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Wellness Garden. There's Brianna.
Hi.
And here are our gigantic cover crops. They just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Man, this soil is going to be so good for the fall.
Yes.
It's just going to be great. And like, it is so hot right now, so I think we just got to leave these in for a while. Oh my God, look at that grasshopper. It's yellow. No way, a yellow grasshopper?
Really?
Yeah, that's crazy looking. Look.
Whoa, that's exotic.
Yeah, hold on. Oh, well, it's gone.
Oh my gosh.
It's gone.
You scared it.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, these cover crops are definitely starting to senesce, but I think it's a good idea to leave them in for a little while longer, just until we can actually get some seeds started. I've been trying to get some seeds started here, and like, everything's just getting fried right now. It is so hot, and like, I'm not really as much of a raised bed gardener. I grow in ground most of the time, but here obviously we have raised beds, and I'm starting to notice the issues with raised beds in the summer. I put this tomato seedling in like 2 weeks ago. I have these tomato seedlings, these Tulsi, and I'm trying to germinate some seeds. The cosmos look okay, so I'm taking note of what's looking okay here, but everything is just getting completely fried, especially in the smaller raised beds. The soil, especially along the edges, is heating up like way too much, and it's just causing everything to get completely roasted. It's cooking the roots basically. I've been having the same issue in this bed right here. The corn looks okay. I think the corn could probably use some fertilizer, but a lot of the other things are just getting wrecked. Yeah, the squashes, the new squashes some of them are looking all right, others are not looking so hot. So, yeah, it's just been, a bit difficult to keep everything moist and evenly moist and cool, because we're only here 3 days a week, and like there's a period over the weekend where nobody's here for 4 days. So it's been tough to keep everything watered properly, and I think that's an issue I'm having with this experimental mulch bed as well. It's drying out underneath, so all those nutrients and organic matter that we added are not able to break down and begin cycling through the soil properly, because it just dries out. And once these materials dry out, like, all of the microbial and fungal activity pretty much comes to a halt. Yeah, it's good to observe that and like see this issue, and know and understand that it's something that we're going to deal with in the summer. I think that once winter rolls around and we start getting rains, this stuff is going to start decomposing quite well, especially since our winters are still pretty warm, and decomposition can still occur during the winter here in our climate. So that's going to be good. I think at this point, it's good to just keep piling on the organic matter and keeping it watered as much as possible. But yeah, like, these tomatoes are getting cooked as well. Look, this bed looks awful. The tomatoes look awful in this bed, and even the seedlings don't look too hot. This bed's getting more sun throughout the day, and this bed is getting less, and it looks better. Like, these tomatoes are not setting fruit because it's too hot, but they look so much better. Yeah, and of course the perennials look fantastic. I mean, these blackberries are so prolific right now.
How do they taste? Are they sweet now?
They're sweetening up, yeah. So I think we just want to leave them on the plant for a bit longer, and then we'll donate a big harvest of them to the food pantry. I think that's a good idea. Everything that got a head start earlier in the season in this bed is doing all right too. I mean, we're going to be getting some popcorn pretty soon, which is very exciting. And I'm hoping that we're able to get some sunchokes as well. The sunchokes are still in there. They're still growing. I did cut them back recently to get some biomass to mulch the beds with, but I think that they'll be coming back, and they'll. I think that we'll be able to get like a good harvest out of them this year. Anyways, yeah. So again, like, when it comes to our perennials, they're doing good. So even though they're in these smaller beds, and that's because I think there's more coverage of the soil, and like the root masses of the perennials are already established in the soil, so they're able to withstand the warmer soil conditions and really just weather it and retain moisture in the soil. So that's good. It's good to know. We got some oleander aphids on our milkweed right there.
Where did you plant milkweed? You planted it there?
I planted a couple in the pollinator boxes, but this one's doing the best. So yeah, good to see that the native milkweed is doing well. It's been growing quite vigorously, and this is another one of the polycultures that we're trying, and it's doing okay. I mean, like, again, we're having issues with the heat. I think in this case, again, it's just like the nutrients are kind of failing to cycle because it's drying, because everything's drying out due to the heat. But fortunately, it is starting to look good. Like if you dig under here, you can see that it is kind of moist. So I think we're getting some nutrient cycling finally, and there's plenty of insects under there. That's always a good sign. We did harvest this the other week. I harvested these, the greens right here, and they were good. Looks like they're growing back. We've got some new black-eyed peas coming up, and finally, turmeric. So excited about the turmeric. So we're gonna get turmeric and going in this bed as well. So this side is basically gonna be turmeric. Here we have the achira, which is a root vegetable, and I'm hoping that we can actually put some yerba mate in the center. I actually scored some yerba mate plants recently. I've been looking for yerba mate plants everywhere. I couldn't seem to find them. I was out of town this weekend, went to this little nursery in Paso Robles, and they just happened to have a ton of them, and I got them for like $2 each. So super excited to try growing some yerba mate here. It does grow in Southern California, and it is quite hardy actually for a tropical plant. Apparently established plants can take temperatures down to 20 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's cool. Let's get some yerba mate established in this garden. Maybe we could also put some in this bed. We'll see. Yeah, our herbs are doing pretty well. The California mugwort is bouncing back, which is exciting, and the tulsi looks like it's getting established again. Suffering from the heat a little bit, but we're doing good overall. Yeah, fruit trees look good. We've been starting to get some limes, and I think the lemons are almost on their way. Oops, check that out. Lots of lemons right now. Anyways, let's get to the main subject of this video. You ready, Brianna?
I am.
We're going to start a worm farm.
Exciting.
So let's start our worm farm. I need to hook my phone up to the charger. And we'll get going. But yeah, it's my first summer like taking care of the whole garden, so it's been good to like observe these things. I've been around to help for like 2 years, but I wasn't really the one in charge of the soil stuff, and now that I am, I'm learning a lot about raised bed gardening. It has its benefits and drawbacks, that's for sure. I think I'm always going to prefer growing in the ground, but raised beds are great in certain situations, especially if you have contaminated soil. And of course, since they are more exposed to the elements and more exposed to the sun, and since it is a smaller thermal mass of soil in a raised bed, they will warm up earlier in the season, and this allows you to get your veggies started earlier. It's just that when it gets hot, everything will start to deteriorate more rapidly. So make sure you're keeping up on your irrigation during the summer. Anyways, so talk a bit about vermicomposting. I'll go right here. So our worm farm here has been inactive for quite some time. Due to the lockdown, we really haven't had students, staff, and faculty bringing food waste to the garden. So unfortunately, we haven't really had much to feed the worm farm with. Like a lot of our garden residues, we just put in the compost. So the worm farm was shut down for a while, unfortunately, but now I think it's time to try starting it back up again. So worm farms are fantastic, and I believe that a worm farm is a necessary fixture in pretty much any garden situation. It's probably the easiest way to recycle your food scraps, much lower effort than composting, and not only that, you can have a worm bin that's basically any size. You know, you could have something like this. This is our worm bin right here. Itchy. My eyes. We got my eye. This is our worm bin right here. This is definitely a system that's on the smaller side. But you can actually do it under a kitchen sink. You can have a worm farm that's that small. You could just have like a little bucket and put your food scraps in there with some worms, and the worms will break it down under your kitchen sink. So that's perfect for everybody out there who's a container or patio gardener who doesn't really have the space for a larger system. So it's really easy to start a worm farm, and you really just need 2 things to start it, or 3 rather. You need a bedding, which is a material that the worms can sort of like crawl through and eat and break down over time. You need your maybe initial amount of food scraps, not a lot. When I started my worm farm with like a couple of worms, I literally just put one banana peel in there and let it sit there for 2 weeks. Let them. You want to start slow so that you can build in your worm farm. And then 3, of course, you need the worms, and you can buy these yourself. We use the red wigglers, and you can buy worms in pretty much any garden center. So they're really easy to get. You can buy them online as well. I'm really not sure about using the native earthworms that you find. I don't know what species those are, and they don't really seem to be surface feeders. They seem to like to burrow down deeper in the soil, and you want the types of worms that are surface feeders. Here are our worms right here. These are the ones that I brought. Did you bring any, Brianna?
No.
No?
It has a story.
Oh, it's a good thing I brought worms.
Yeah.
Here are mine. They're quite healthy. I have so many worms in my worm farm right now.
See, I don't have a lot, and I think my mom can ask her first.
There's also other things in here like springtails, although I'm not sure if these ones are still alive. It did get a bit toasty in here. I'm really hoping that a lot of the good biology that I have in my worm farm didn't get killed off, because as we've spoken about in the past, your soil microorganisms are basically the foundation of healthy soil. Like, you can't have healthy soil without soil microbes. I like to think that you can store your microbes in. So it's not only a way to recycle your food scraps into fertility for your garden, it's a place where you can sort of centralize and hold on to like a lot of your beneficial soil biology that your soil needs and your plants need in order to survive and thrive. So I've put all sorts of stuff in my worm farm. I've put yard waste from around the yard. I put food scraps. I even went out into the forest and collected some bits of leaves and twigs and small amounts of soil from a forested area that had a lot of soil life, and then put them in my worm farm. So I've added quite a bit of sources of good biology to my worm farm, and that biology is now going to be carried over into this worm farm. So I'm going to set those guys aside. We have our bedding. You could use a lot of materials for bedding. Basically, you just need something that is organic. It's made of organic material and is well aerated and is pretty neutral in terms of the pH. You also want something that is low in salt. So my philosophy is just use what you have. So let's move right here. This is our worm farm. So my philosophy is just use what you have. So I'm just like spent seed starting mix, which is really just a mixture of coconut coir and vermiculite. It does help to have a little bit of like grit in your worm farm, and it will hopefully serve that purpose. Sometimes people will add a little bit of soil or a little bit of sand, and just like small particles of rocks will help the worms to break down and digest their food. So
I realize how much plastic there is in there.
yeah, lots of plastic. Someone put some paper with plastic backing on one time, and remember, plastic never breaks down.
I know, I'm like trying to take it out.
But the one thing that I read about coconut coir is that you actually want to wash it out pretty thoroughly before you use it as a worm bedding, because it can be high in salt. I am going to go get some. I'm going to go get the hose right now, and we're going to wash it out.
While he's doing that, I will be picking out this plastic. I don't know who put plastic in here, but we don't want to give our worms plastic, right? What are you guys currently growing? I am curious of like what you guys are growing. Right now, what's thriving in my garden at home is our tomatoes. It seems like every day about 1.5 pounds of tomatoes.
Oh, good for you. That's awesome.
We're finally getting our watermelons going. We have like 6 of them.
Don't worry about the plastic, it's fine.
Sure.
We'll sift it out eventually.
I feel like
Just like get the larger pieces. But yeah, we want to leach this.
this is like not good.
Yeah, to start seeds. hydroponic system, so there will be some salt in it, on top of what you'd normally find on coconut core. Yeah, looking good.
I brought some goodies.
Brought some goodies. Yeah, and we'll just add a bunch of stuff. Yeah, good. It's starting to leach. We'll just add a bunch of stuff. I think that's fine for now. And we'll check up on it and see how the worms are doing. I can always bring more worms if need be. I have so many, it's ridiculous. But yeah, in general, like, you know, when you're starting a worm farm, you're gonna want to start with like one banana peel, you know, because again, you want to give the worms an opportunity to build up their populations. And I do remember reading somewhere that it's not actually the food itself that the worms eat, but the microbes and fungi that begin to break down the food and that grow on it.
So I brought my compost for nothing.
Your compost? Add it.
I brought like a lot of.
I'm not sure how true that is. Don't quote me on that.
Huh?
I'm not sure how true it is that worms don't actually eat the food itself. So don't quote me on it. But I don't know. There's lots of garden myths out there, so I take everything with a grain of salt. I would much rather, like, you know, if I hear something that seems like it may not be true, then I would much rather just like observe for myself if it's true, and then make my decision based on that. But yeah, you do add your compost, Brianna. There's going to be some good biology in there.
Because I'm like, we said only one banana peel. I'm like, I brought like 4 banana peels.
That's fine. I think it's fine. If we need to take them out, we'll take them out.
Why? What's the worst that can happen if you cook too much?
It'll get smelly. That's pretty much the worst that can happen if you overfeed your worm farm.
I thought smelly is best.
Well, you know, it's the bad kind of smelly, the anaerobic kind of smelly.
Oh.
So that's not something you want because it is going to be harmful to the worms. Because like a lot of anaerobic microbes actually do produce toxic compounds. Apple core, yeah. All that fruity stuff. They seem to like the fruity stuff. They eat through it super quickly.
I also brought some eggshells. I don't think, do they like coffee grounds?
Too acidic.
Okay, so we'll probably put that in there.
Yeah, put that in the main bin.
Okay.
It's almost time to sift out the compost in the tumbler too. We'll have plenty of compost ahead in time for fall, which is good.
So what are we gonna do first?
Yeah, I feel like I want to leach this out a bit more, to be honest. Just get this really nice and leached out. I feel like this is one of those things you can't overdo it with because you don't want a lot of salt in your worm farm. Worms don't like that. But yeah, when it comes to beddings, you know, just use what's available. You know, like that's my philosophy in general when it comes to gardening. Don't overcomplicate things and use what's available. Just
you do all the myths. I mean the no-nos. You like use onion peels and stuff like that.
I do the no-nos, and it doesn't seem to be a problem. Like, just don't overdo it. You know,
yeah.
I think it's exaggerated how much of a problem a lot of these things are. You know, because if you throw an onion peel out in the forest, it's going to break down. You know, it was made by a plant. It's eventually going to return to the soil in one way or another. So as long as you're careful about things like onions and citrus, I honestly think it's fine. I don't think you need to be like too concerned about it. Just like don't dump like a ton of lemon rinds into there, or don't dump like a ton of onion peels into there. And it's not the peel itself; it's the actual flesh of the onion that's the issue.
So be moderate.
Yeah, like if there's something that you know is a quote unquote no-no, just be careful with it and see how your worm farm responds. But yeah, in terms of bedding, you know, it's oftentimes said that, oh, you need to use this for bedding or that for bedding. You have to buy this product or that product, you know, and it's really not the case. Like when I started my worm farm, I started with partially finished compost as the bedding. When it comes to bedding, like the thing that, you know, having a good bedding seems to do is just create like an end product that is a bit less that tends to stick together less and is more like light, fluffy, and workable. And that's good, of course, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, in my opinion. You can use the worm castings that I produce in my garden are quite sticky, as you can see. They're quite sticky, but they're good. It's a good product. And it has a lot of good biology. So yeah, we have a worm party here. Let's start getting these worms in. So just add them, just sprinkle them in.
You have to show this up close.
Yeah, please do.
Look at these babies. Oh!
So many of them.
I'm sorry for the annoying voice, but
no, you're good.
I just get so excited over this stuff.
Oh yeah. Worm farms are so much fun. A great project to do with your kids too.
Because this is gonna help create all that worm tea for the
Oh
future.
yeah, Jackson, my son, is always excited to feed the worms.
Oh, don't forget those baby ones.
Oh yeah, we'll get the babies in there too. Yeah, I think it's a good idea to introduce a little more. I can bring some more tomorrow. That's not a problem.
Yeah, I was gonna bring mine, but I should have discussed it with my gardening partner first.
Gardening partner?
My mom.
Oh, your mom. So we'll just give another light
She
watering.
was just like, did not want to let go of any of the worms. Because our bin is like small, kind of.
Yeah.
We don't have as much.
Yeah. So now at this point we have our worms introduced and we have our biology, our inoculum introduced.
Look at that.
Because the worms and the microbes do actually work together in a worm farm to break down waste. Next, we need to introduce our food. Got some banana peels here, and the thing about the food is you actually do want to maintain pretty much an even carbon to nitrogen ratio by weight. So not by weight, by volume. Sorry. So even amount of an even ratio of brown materials to green materials.
Is that a baby wipe?
No, that's just a paper towel. People say not to use a napkin. People say not to use napkins in worm farms because they contain
So I brought way too
polychlorinated biphenyls, but I've used them before. I might get cancer someday because of that, but I don't know.
much? What? Nowadays everything causes cancer. Really.
Nowadays everything does cause cancer,
So
so
should I
yeah,
add some?
I think that's fine. Yeah, and shredded
try to-
paper is a brown.
Yeah.
So I would say,
Shredded
Brianna,
paper.
emphasize the shredded paper.
Yeah.
Let me.
I know it kind of got all like mixed in here, so I'm gonna try to just. It's hard to just point out the
Yeah,
not avocados peels.
I use them.
Yeah, right.
People say don't use them, but like I've never had a problem, and in fact, my worms seem to love them.
Yeah, I've used avocado peels in mine too.
Yeah, I'm really not sure what the issue is with avocado peels. I've heard people say don't. I've heard websites say don't use them, but like why? You know, that's the problem with a lot of gardening websites. They say like, you know, do this or don't do that, and there's just like no explanation given. It's just like, you know, these sort of like gardening isms that get passed around like a game of telephone. So that's why I take things like with a grain of salt. Like if I hear, and the thing is, like if I hear somebody who's been gardening for a long time or is really experienced say, oh, I do this and this works for me, then I'm gonna lend it more credence, you know. And of course, the most credence of all that when I say comes to like growing plants comes from scientists and indigenous
What about
people.
roses?
So yeah, roses.
Okay.
But yeah, well, that's plenty. So
Okay.
and it's okay to favor the browns right now.
Yeah,
But
that's what I'm trying to
and I think we do need to add more greens. So let's.
maybe some. What browns can we add?
That's plenty in terms of brown. So we'll add a couple more greens. I'll add a little bit more. I'll add this banana right here. This is just for my.
Yeah, I have banana peels and a lemon. Ooh.
Don't add the lemon yet.
Not lemon.
Not yet. We need to get these worms
What about
established.
apple?
I'll just finish adding the rest of my stuff. Why don't you put the rest of that stuff in the compost? So I think this is way more than enough, to be honest. Like, this may end up being a problem. It might get stinky. But, because as I said,
browns,
like, you know,
maybe add more
I usually
browns.
start with one. What's that?
If we add more brown stuff, I think that'll balance it out.
Okay, let's add a couple more browns then. Yeah, and if it gets stinky, you could add lactic acid bacteria. I've done that too. I've overfed my worms a couple times. It's definitely a thing that I've done, and I just use lactic acid bacteria, or LAB, which is a microbial preparation that you make from rice water and milk. It's kind of like a multi-purpose antifungal, anti-pathogenic agent that you can apply to various parts of your garden. People also use it as a deodorizer. I've used it to deodorize my compost bucket that we keep in the kitchen. Because it's just beneficial microbes that will fight off the bad guys, pretty much. So, yeah, I'll prepare a batch of that at home in case we need it. But let's try and get some more. I wouldn't use wood chips, to be honest, but like if there are any fallen leaves around here.
Washing the bag out.
Yeah, those lemongrass, that lemongrass is still considered green, by the way. Yummy indeed, Frida. How are you, Frida? How's it going?
Frida!
Nice to see you.
Hi,
It's been a while. Frida Flower.
Yummy.
Yummy indeed.
What's thriving in your garden right now?
Yeah, let's hear it from everybody. I know my partner McKenna is here too. Nice to see you, babe. Yeah, what's going down in everyone's garden? Like, tell us about it. I'll talk about my garden. I have massive cover crops growing right now. I have a sunflower in my cover crop mix that's as tall as this one over here almost. It's probably like 9 feet tall. And like the cover crops in my garden are just thriving right now. And I'm so excited to put vegetables in a month or so.
What about, let's say, what plant has surprised you the most in the garden that you're just like,
Yeah,
whoa,
guys,
I
what
was
plant
not
has surprised you the most in your garden this year?
I think for me was the watermelon, because I saw people, because I've like visited like another local two local gardens to me, and they had watermelon growing already, and mine was just like all leaves and stuff and flowers, and I'm like, where are the watermelons? And recently, like the past week to 2 weeks, we finally started seeing watermelons growing. Like we have about
Nice.
six of them right now.
Wow.
The size of my hand. So I'm
They'll
like,
get bigger.
okay. Now, but you know what, my mom, because we have chickens, she started adding the chicken poop.
Oh,
into
that's the best.
compost. So
I'm
I
so jelly that you guys get to have chickens and I don't.
know. And
They'd
you know
make
what,
my life
they're-
so much
they're
easier.
Great. People say like, oh, they're messy, they attract rats, but like as long as you keep them clean and their food like good, you're good. Like they have
You
good-
know, Brianna, I may actually want to borrow your chickens when I turn over my beds and then
Yeah.
run them through my beds.
Yeah. Or we could, because we collect the poop in a bucket, so we could give you some.
Yeah, please, I would love some.
Yeah, let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, exchange homemade chicken manure with your neighbors. Like, awesome. That's something you want to do. But yeah, see, the flies are already getting to it, so we want to cover this now. If we could get like, I don't think we have any cardboard here, do we?
Cardboard.
Yeah, like, because normally, like now what you want to do is you want to cover all the materials with like a sheet of cardboard or
like
maybe
a
a piece
bag.
of a burlap sack, like something like that that's
Like
made
a
of
paper
organic
bag.
material that will last for a long time. Just, it helps keep the worms cool and protected and keeps like a nice, cool, dark environment for them and discourages them from trying to escape. Because that will happen sometimes if conditions are not favorable within the worm farm. The worms will try to escape.
Like the soul garden.
Whether they're stressed out from just being transferred, whether it gets too hot, or whether you overfed them.
It's like the worm
like-
apocalypse.
Worm apocalypse. You'll get a worm apocalypse and they'll try and escape. I had that happen once last year when it got to the 118 degrees out. And that's another thing. Like once your worm farm is all ready to go, either keep it indoors or in full shade. You do not want sun hitting this worm farm. You want worms like a nice, dark, cool environment. So you want to provide that for them. Yeah, and that's pretty much how you start a worm farm. Like, you know, there's not much else to it. You know, at this point, what you want to do is just make sure that the worm farm remains moist. I find that I don't have to water mine at all, really. Very occasionally. But you may find that you need to water yours. So when it comes to this worm farm in particular, I think what you want to do is basically fill up one of the trays. And then when the tray is full and you need to add some more material, you switch these two. That's how I've been running mine anyways, is a similar design. You switch them and then have this one be on top and then you start adding material to this one. So, yeah. Ooh, it's a bit stinky. Do you just smell that?
No, I have my mask.
I
so
could smell that
can't
through my
smell it.
mask. I think it's just like some of the residue down here. So let's empty out this stuff. Some people say like the liquid that collects in the bottom of a worm farm is usable as a fertilizer. I've heard other people say that if it contains anaerobic microbes, it can actually be toxic, which makes sense. And if it's stinky, I wouldn't use it. So anything like your nose is like your sort of like litmus test for, is this good for my garden or bad for my garden? If it smells bad, it's bad. If it smells good, it's good. I mean, obviously there's a bit more nuance there, but there's not much else to it. So let's check the bottom one to see if there's anything collected. Doesn't want to come on, it seems. Okay, there we Yeah, there's some old worm castings in there. That's probably what's smelling. No, not really. So
Is that usable?
usable.
Wow, you're just going in there.
Yeah, I don't care. This is good stuff. You see the texture and how it's aggregated?
I care, but okay.
Let's put this in here.
You're gonna save it.
Save it.
Are you gonna put it back in here, or you're gonna?
I think
Add
it's a
it
good
to-
idea to feed it to some of our plants. Just throw it underneath like one of the support species. Or some of
Wow,
the
you're
support
just
species.
going in bare hands.
Because like all of our stuff that all of our waste materials that we don't want to use in our veggies, I've been putting them, giving them to the support species, and they love it. They're like, I'm gonna suck up those nutrients because that's what I do best. They're doing quite well, by the way. That Tithonia is reaching 4 feet tall. That we planted like 2 months ago in the ground. We're gonna be able to start really cutting that back and harvesting biomass off of it next year, I think, which is great. We need to get all of that green manure into our system here. Sequester fertility. It's free. It's all around you. It's in the soil and it's in the air. All right, so there's that box. I don't want to use that box because that's
maybe the edges.
Yeah, we could use the edges.
Like cut it.
Yeah, let's cut it. Here are my secateurs. These tomatoes are starting to come in.
I know. Are they supposed to be yellow? Are they yellow?
I think
kind?
these are yellow ones, yeah. They're golden ones. But these cherry tomatoes look good. The
at
cucumbers keep dropping flowers, and I think that's because of the heat.
But you know what? I saw that those cucumbers near the hydroponic system, the flowers are staying over there.
The female flowers are they're failing to set properly on here. And I don't think we have a shortage of pollinators here. But those are not cucumbers by the hydro system. Those are cantaloupes.
Oh.
And then we have Lupa.
You know what I had to do at home, but it worked? I hand pollinated the pumpkin that we had.
Yeah, I think that might be a good thing to try. Although I'm not sure if we can do it except early in the morning.
Yeah, I did it early in the morning.
Yeah, I can't come here that early. It's outside of business hours.
Well, I did it like around 9ish. Is that too early?
No, that's fine. Oh, well, that might be too late actually. People say to hand pollinate around like 6, 7 a.m. usually.
Oh. Nope, that's a myth because it works for me.
Yeah, maybe it is. Do what works best for you. Like, that's the ultimate piece of advice for gardening. Like, if something's working, then keep doing it. There are so many variables in any garden situation that you don't know. Like, you can't see everything that's going on. We only have our 5 senses to work with, and those senses are already very limited in terms of like all the information that's out there in our gardens. Like, plants communicate with one another, soil microbes communicate with one another, soil microbes communicate with plants, and vice versa. We can't see a lot of those interactions. We can, like, directly. We can only observe their effects.
You think 4 pieces is good?
Yeah, I mean, this one's a bit messed up on the other side, but we'll try. And this is just like, this box just has like a bunch of inorganic fertilizers and stuff that we're no longer going to use. We might give them away.
Yeah, I think PPM could
I
probably.
like to say that inorganic fertilizers are like pouring bleach on your soil.
Yeah, I know. It makes me sad a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, what it does is it makes your soil, it encourages the bacterial population and discourages the fungal population. And that's not good. That's how you get weeds and unhealthy plants. And then that's how you get plants. Your plants might grow really great, but they're essentially they're growing off of chemicals. You know, it's like hydroponics at that point.
Yeah, and you have so much, like, the stuff that's easier to access from your own garden to use instead of fertilizers that are inorganic is, like, cheaper.
Yeah, some organic fertilizers are really good. Like, I like to use fish emulsion, but it stinks. And kelp-based products are good too. All that good stuff from the ocean, like, that's good stuff. Sea salt, some people use this as a mineral supplement. I like the number one fertilizer I actually use in my garden, because I really don't use fertilizers at all at home, It's just aquaponic water. I just pull the water off of my system and water my plants with it every now and then, and like immediately they just perk up.
Wow.
Aquaponic water is great. But yeah, that's it. Worm farm is good to go.
This is gonna be cool to like do a check-in, you know, every now and then.
Yeah, we'll check in
the
next week
worms.
or whenever we do our next live. I think it might be next week.
Yeah. Here's their little home.
Right here. Keeping them nice and shaded. Make sure there's airflow. And then like the thing is, it's so easy to build a worm farm. It is so easy. You do not have to do anything special. Like pretty much you just need a container with holes in it for airflow. That's it. And then like, you know, a means to drain like the liquid, the leachate that collects from the bottom. Because you don't want that to build up because that'll cause the worm farm to go anaerobic. And yeah, these look alright. I mean, they dried out really bad, so I doubt there's like much activity in them in terms of microbes, but they should have some nutrients. I actually am
Would I have to disconnect this?
I actually looked it up recently, and the NPK of worm castings, according to Oregon State University, is like 1.5 to 1.5 or something like that. So it's fertile. And it's good. It's good to use. These gandulas are sad. If you want to harvest lemon verbena, like just take all this stuff on the side right here that's shading out the gandulas. And we'll give this to the Tithonia. This is Tithonia diversifolia. This one really needs it. Because this one had a bit of a slow start. But it's starting to go now. Like the soil is starting to get built. So let's give this one a little boost. We'll see what happens.
Here's an experiment.
And the other ones aren't going to get any, so let's cover the back up with mulch. Yeah. Oh, look at the jumping spider. Look. This is why we don't use pesticides. Although, I think what we're going to need to end up doing is putting some ant bait out. And I know the folks over at the Sustainability Garden have been using that. And the ants, the Argentine ants, are a problem because they keep the beneficial insects off of the aphids, and we can't have that. They're also invasive, very invasive. So we don't want them around, really.
So they use ant bait?
Yeah, it's like an ant trap or motel, and the ants go inside and they'll take the bait and bring it back to the queen, and then the bait will kill the queen.
Oh my goodness!
Now once you kill the queen, you don't have a colony.
Okay. Kill the queen. Off with her head.
Off with her head. To the guillotine.
Wow.
Off with her head, one for each head of cabbage.
I'm gonna move this so this doesn't go wet.
Yeah, thanks. I don't want us to have a power issue, although power issues are a bit difficult to deal with here, unfortunately. Anyways, yeah, what time is it?
It is 4:40.
4:40. We have 20 minutes.
Well, I know you wanted to show did we talk about the aquaponic tomatoes?
No.
Update from last week.
No. We need to do that. Let me see.
Yeah, from 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, yeah. Oh my God, look at these. Out of everything in the garden, these are thriving the most. Wow. Look at these. Yeah, I've got these systems really dialed in right now. There is some pest pressure, but overall, looking good. There's more pest pressure on the hydro, it seems. More issues with the hydro. That looks like some kind of damage from an insect on there. Not sure what it is. And then even the geoponic, the soil ones are doing great. That drip irrigation system has made such a difference. Look at that. And the soil underneath here is still, this is not even near the drip line. It's still nice and moist. And I have done some overhead watering, but this is what soil under a mulch should look like. It should have, look, I pulled up a worm just now.
Oh, wow.
It should be nice and moist and fluffy, have a texture like cottage cheese or chocolate cake, and it should be cycling. And there's a little isopod right there. So we've got lots of life in there. That's what we want. We want all that life in the soil. And we want all the life in the aquaponics system too. As I said, when it comes to aquaponics, this right here is a substrate for microbes. This, you can't see them, but there are microbes all over here. that are processing the fish waste and turning it into nutrients for the plants, which the plants then take up and remove from the water, thus cleaning the water for the fish. So, yeah, and like for once, you know, the soil bed is keeping up with the hydro and aqua systems very well, which is super interesting. And I really think this is because of the drip irrigation and like the consistent moisture that is being maintained. It's so important to have consistently moist soil when you're growing a garden. And this little tweak, this little drip irrigation system we installed right here, really seems to be making a difference. And it's these plants are not doing quite as well as the ones in the other system, but it's comparable for sure. I'm going to be taking measurements tomorrow, and we're charting all of the growth rates. We're measuring and charting all the growth rates of the plants and comparing them. This time it actually looks pretty even. Super interesting. You know, living soil. We got living soil now. So yeah, what else is going on? The sorrel's still doing well. The sugarcane is taking off. I'm really excited that we have sugarcane here now. Like, this is super cool.
Now, how do you harvest it?
You just cut the canes, and you can juice them.
Nice.
And then you can boil the juice to make sugar syrup, and then you can crystallize out the sugar.
Ooh.
So yeah, it's in shade right now. I feel like the sugarcane would do better in an area on this side of the garden, which gets more afternoon sun, and as opposed to morning sun.
I saw that you got a bird feeder.
Right there, yeah.
How do I fill it?
Well, the issue I've been having with the bird feeder is the squirrels have been stealing all the bird seed.
Ah.
Those darn squirrels.
Snatch everything. Oh, what's growing there?
Moringa.
Are these peas? No.
This?
What is that?
These are black-eyed peas.
Oh.
It's like the one thing I can get to germinate successfully right now. I mean, the nasturtiums are germinating too, and we have some volunteer carrots coming up.
These would be great
But-
to give to the food pantry.
Oh yeah, I'm saving these for the food pantry for sure. These banana peppers. And the other peppers are starting to bloom a little bit, which is good. But they've been struggling. You know, it's just the heat. You know, you can see that the leaves are starting to yellow. There should be enough nutrients in these beds too, but it's just the heat. And like, let's see under here. Like, a lot of this is residue. It's dry. It's super dry. So that's a problem. Like, this needs more irrigation for sure. Like, I need to keep doing overhead watering as much as possible. It's just so hot, it dries out so quickly. And so the cycle of decomposition can't begin properly. And then these tomatoes are getting decimated by the heat. That's from the heat. That's getting fried. Because you can see this one right here that's in more of a shady condition. They're doing fine overall. So yeah, lots of interesting observations lately. Heat seems to be a major issue here, and we need to mitigate that. And a lot of that is going to have to do with just getting the plants out at the right time.
Say that because once they like have matured at the right timing, right before the heat comes, then they'll survive.
Well, not only that, because life creates the conditions for its own survival. Think of it that way. Because when you have like nice tall plants in a raised bed in the middle of summer, like this cover crop over here, what's that? And like this chaos garden here, what are they doing? They're shading the soil.
Yeah.
It's reducing the amount of heat that's getting into the bed. And so it's the life itself, the plants themselves are buffering the entire raised bed from the heat. And so, like, if you're trying to sow seeds right now, you're not going to be able to have a lot of success just because it's so hot, at least in raised beds. I've had success doing some seed sowing in ground about a month ago. I did sow in another round of cover crops, and they're doing great. But right now, like, the ground's going to be cooler than raised beds will be once again. Yeah, any strawberries?
No.
Yeah, they look like they're vegging right now. I'm not sure what variety that is, but that does not seem to be an ever-bearing variety. Yeah, it might be sequoia.
Yeah.
I think I would like to convert these beds over to strawberries. I think that would be cool.
Yeah, I should definitely try hand pollinating these once they blossom.
Yeah, these are getting fried once again. You see that? Like,
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's just because it's getting fried. And like, this is dry. This is bone dry right here. You see that?
Oh,
That's dry. Even though we have drip irrigation literally right there and it's running twice a day, it's dry. I'm not sure where the emitters are. I think I forgot to install the emitters on this bed. I think that's the issue, but I did on this bed, and it's still it's just because the root zone is heating up.
Yeah, and it's in a small space, so it's like. Yeah,
It's just like there's not a lot of thermal mass.
Baking. It's like when you bake cupcakes, you know, you bake it for less. That's how I understand it the best. Like, think about you're baking a cake in a bigger area, so it takes more. It's it doesn't get as dry and as cooked all the way through as quickly as a cupcake.
Yeah.
Think of these as like a cupcake. It's getting like fried and heated quick.
Yeah.
You know, because it's a small container, so.
Yeah.
That's the best analogy I can give right now.
It's a good analogy.
A cake versus
I think
a
that
cupcake.
explained it well.
And growing from the floor is like, I don't know. What could that be? Just-
Like soil temperatures are a lot more stable year round. Like if it like the ground is going to be like a lot cooler right now than the raised beds, basically. Plant roots don't like excessive heat. It's just not their thing. So when you have excessive heat, that's when you tend to get root rot and those kinds of issues. So I'm thinking that we're having some issues with the roots, because there should be enough nutrients in here. Even like right here, like I think there's an emitter literally right there. Yeah, this one's moister for sure, but it's still heating up. You know, like moisture can't fix the issue if it's just getting too hot. It feels cool right now, but I don't know. Like it just doesn't seem to be
What's the temperature
the
right
jive.
now?
Above 90, I'm sure.
Yeah, 91.
Yeah, 91. That's pretty hot. I mean, that's not too bad. Like the danger zone for veggies, most veggies seem to be above 95, like most warm season veggies. But for things like moringa, the moringa just doesn't even care. Like the moringa just grows faster when it gets hotter. Like look at this. This one has to be like 6 feet tall now. I definitely took a couple leaves off. They make a delicious salad. But yeah, the plan for these guys is to coppice them or cut them to the ground in the winter or early spring. And then they'll shoot up again super bushy. Find any passion fruits? There are some ripe ones on there.
I'm like, I want to try at least one, but I don't know if they're ripe or not.
There is one. Hold on, I saw one. Yeah, we can have a couple here and there, but we definitely need to get most of them to the food pantry. Yeah, there are some in here. Let's see. Yeah, even the passion fruit's suffering. And passion fruit can take heat pretty well.
I can see it in the markets. I'm like, let me see if there's passion fruit. Are you sure that one's right?
Well, this one's starting to turn purple. See?
So that's
This
how you
one.
know?
Yeah, once they turn purple, they're ready.
Huh.
You can even eat them when they're just starting to turn purple. They're still really good. But they're best when they're fully purple.
You ate a fully purple one?
I did. It was delicious. I actually took a couple of them and
I saw some there, but I think, are they yellow?
no, these are actually the purple variety. Here we go. Try this one. See, this one just popped right off.
Oh.
You have to cut it open.
Oh, okay. Maybe with my fingers?
No, I would say you need the shears.
Okay, yeah. Are you sure? Wow.
Yeah, but we have plenty in here. So we'll be
just
donating
bite
a
it?
bunch of these. Here's another one right there. That one's ready.
Should I just bite into it?
No, the skin doesn't taste that good.
Okay.
I would go get the shears.
They didn't have shears back then. They just bit into things.
Yeah. Well, humans have always known how to make tools, so I'm sure they had something. Here, I have some right here. You want to wash these off too?
Yeah, I don't want to eat a worm casting.
Yeah, it's just been so hot. Like, I don't even want to go outside most days. Today wasn't as bad, but like the other day when I was here on Tuesday, I'm just like, okay, you know, I'm going to be here for as little as possible just to make sure everything's not dying.
Huh, seems kind of hollow.
They are. You've never
No, this is
opened
my
up a
first
passion
time
fruit?
ever trying this, so I'm like, you're getting a real first impression here.
and just kind of like suck the pulp out.
Okay.
It's interesting. It's a very interesting flavor.
Okay,
It's
so
unique.
This is what it looks like. I've never tried this. Actually, I have tried jackfruit, I think.
I love jackfruit.
Mmm. Whoa.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Whoa.
It's crazy. I love passion fruit.
Oh my gosh.
Aren't they delicious?
Mm-hmm. You're supposed to eat the seeds, right?
Yeah.
That literally tastes... Whoa. It really... It's like sweet with a little bit of tartness. I'm trying to describe like what it's similar to. I can't even.
I definitely get like tart frozen yogurt vibes from it. But at the same time, it also has like a very berry-like flavor almost. It's almost like blackberry, like a raspberry.
Raspberry. There you go. But like a way better raspberry.
A way better raspberry.
Oh my goodness. This is so good. Whoa, oh, I got a little bit of tartness in my throat.
Oh yeah. But passion fruit vines are super vigorous. Like on this entire wall you see here, that is 3 plants. Literally 3 plants. And they do like heat. They are a summer crop.
I love this.
Wow. And this is the first year we've gotten passion fruit, thanks to some fertilization, compost tea, and regular irrigation.
Passion fruit? I want to buy passion fruit now.
Probably at like an Asian market. Try going to somewhere like 99 Ranch.
I've never heard of that place.
It's in Van Nuys.
That was so good.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna compost this.
Yeah.
Throw it in the trash.
You could just throw it underneath the passion fruit vine, actually. It'll break down.
Wow. Oh my goodness, that was so yummy.
Yep, delicious.
That just made my day.
Yeah, yeah, I was just looking at the time. It's 4:52. Q&A. We don't have to take the whole time. Let's give it 3 minutes till 4:55. I can talk a little bit more about future plans for the garden while we're doing that. So drop any questions if you have them. Yeah, so right here where we have the cover crop, this cover crop again is definitely senescing, but it's still growing. We're going to cut down the cover crop and probably plant some broccoli, fava beans, peas, and maybe some like small root crops like radishes and carrots. That's kind of the general idea here. We might try and do another round of beans in here just to fix some additional nitrogen. I would have liked for more of the nitrogen fixers in the cover crop to grow. But I think in general now, like this bed is going to be super healthy. It's good. The soil is going to be pretty healthy, and we'll be ready to grow some really good cool season veggies in here. So yeah, lots. I'm thinking like mainly broccoli and fava beans. I feel like the broccoli and fava beans would go together better than broccoli and peas would. I feel like the peas would just grow all over the broccoli. And here, medicinal herbs. We're going to do more medicinal herbs in here. We're going to allow this bed to continue growing up. This one actually needs a bit of a pruning. It's that sorrel's definitely gotten a bit toasted by the heat. Yeah, and here we're going to keep trying to do the Three Sisters thing. The corn looks all right, as I've said. I do think that it might need some nutrients. But next, instead of beans, we're going to be doing some of the black-eyed peas, since I really don't think the beans are going to be all that fruitful right now. It's just not their time, honestly. Like, in Southern California, like in our region of Southern California and Northridge, beans really seem to be more of a spring crop that you want to sow in like March for a May-June harvest. Yeah, over here, I want to do some potatoes here. The sunchokes are probably not going to finish up until November, but in the meantime, I think we might be able to start like some potatoes in January here. And in the meantime, perhaps we can do some leafy greens that'll be easy to remove along with the sunchokes. More shorter cycle stuff like lettuce, possibly some kale, maybe some arugula, radishes as well, because the radishes are a smaller root crop. And then in here, I don't know about these peppers. They never really took off, and again, it's just the heat. Like, we had a lot of heat this year really early, and it kind of just decimated a lot of things.
And it's still not over.
It's not over. It's not over until mid-October, honestly. It's going to keep on coming and coming. We're going to have to start using shade cloth. This is going to remain, this regime here, with the lemongrass, the lemon balm, and the ginger. The ginger is doing all right. The ginger got a little bit toasted from the heat too, but it's looking a lot better than most things that got toasted by the heat. Let's see, what else now? Yeah, over here, I've been considering doing a cover crop, but I'm not sure how necessary it is. And again, like, this is just drying out too much, and so nutrients can't cycle, and the plants are starting to go deficient. It's super unfortunate, but that's what's happening. At least the cherry tomatoes are doing well. which is great. We might get some cucumbers soon, but the heat has been seemingly preventing the cucumbers from really like setting. And we've got some basil in there too. But yeah, I think we're gonna focus a bit more. We might do potatoes here. I think potatoes would be pretty cool. So yeah, we'll see. Then over here in this bed, I really want to get that yerba mate in. I think this is a good spot for the yerba mate. It doesn't get too much sun, and yerba mate seems to like the shade more. And the yerba mate will also help to shade out the turmeric, which really does not like too much sun. Oh yeah, here's the other turmeric right here. It's nice to see that it's coming. Really nice to see we got some turmeric. That's great. I might pull this one out right here, and then put the yerba mate right in the center right there. I think that'll be perfect. Anyways, yeah, it is 4:56. So I think we're gonna wrap it up right now. Thank you for joining us today.
Yes, thank you for helping us, being there for us to build our worm farm.
Yeah, and we'll share results so far during the next live. So stay tuned for that. Anyways, have a great weekend, everyone.
Happy growing.
Happy growing.
That should be our slogan.
Yeah, it is.